This is my Israeli-Palestine conflict unit design final project. So my students are going to be in my 8th period world geography class, and it is a co-taught class. It says freshman, but there is one sophomore in the class. There are 28 students in total in the class, 17 boys and 11 girls. Since the class is a co-taught class, that means I do have a special ed teacher in the room as well, because many of the students do have um, special education accommodations. Many of them have IEPs, a few of them have some 504s as well. The class is also very diverse. I have a student that was born in Nigeria, a student that was born in India, a student that was born in Mexico, and a student that was born in, I don't remember the country, but it was in Eastern Europe. Here are the standards that I'm going to be focusing on. So, looking at historical events and evaluating how political and economic decisions have influenced cultural and environmental characteristic changes. I could spend a lot of time talking about those two areas because of this conflict is just very big, but I won't. And the main thing that they're going to be doing that goes with standards is this last one: identifying evidence that draws information from multiple sources and to revise and or strengthen claims. Objectives: the students will be able to identify evidence that draws information by completing a Israel Palestine simulation prep sheet. They will then be using that prep sheet to help with a Flipgrid video they will be completing as well. The design strategy I focused on was the goal based scenarios strategy by Roger C. Shank, pictured up there at the right. Um, so, just going through learning goals, mission, cover story, roles and scenario, resources, and feedback, which I will go into detail through my day to day lesson. So, the technology used, I will be using Flipgrid. This is an awesome tool that gets students vocal in a way that if they're more shy in a large class, then this is a great way for them to kind of showcase their knowledge of a subject without having extra anxiety of being watched by their classmates. So the students will create videos for the assigned classmates in that question to watch. The students will also have to respond to two other classmates in that specific topic question that they are answering. So, day to day things, the first day is going to be focusing on just understanding this conflict, getting some background knowledge. So, this is just a screenshot of part of the sheet that they will be completing, looking at the main issue of this conflict, groups involved in the conflict, some important vocabulary and events that took place during this conflict as well. So, learning goals is just focusing on the skills of what you want the students to get out of this scenario. They too, they will technically be finishing up that note sheet, but the mission will be introduced on this day. And the mission is basically the simulation here. Just looking at the schematics of what they will have to do. So, focusing on the directions part of this assignment and then going over the rubric of this assignment would be the mission. So, directions, they're going to be creating a 2 to 4 minute Flipgrid on their assigned question. They will not know the assigned question until the day of, but the days prior, they will be given a hint as to two questions that they can prepare for so they have some kind of guidance on what to do. Days 3 to 5 is doing more kind of background cover story situation. So these 3 days, students will be watching this video. It is a documentary called Promises, just following the lives of 7 Israeli and Palestinian children that all live in the same kind of area, not too far apart in Jerusalem or in the surrounding cities. The students will kind of be able to relate to these students, well, children, because they are about the same age. So it is a great way to kind of feel more emotionally connected to what is happening in this scenario. And it's easy to kind of relate to these characters because you can kind of see them going through trials. We see them being involved in sports, we see them being involved in different activities, and we kind of can see that they are similar to each other, even though some of them are Israeli and some of them are Palestinian, and they are like being raised to not really like the other. So it's a great, great way to kind of invoke this cover story. Day 6 will be introducing these roles that they will partake in. So there are 7 different roles that they could be. And after watching the documentary and going through all the notes, these roles will be easy to kind of identify with. They will also be given the scenario, so focusing on the 2 questions here, mainly focusing on like the peace process and like what's next after like all this backstory. Day 7, they will be kind of doing some work on their own, but utilizing some great sources that I will provide to them. So there's a screenshot of the resource page there. Students will be having a workday going through the sources provided. So they will have better understanding of their perspective that they will be utilizing. So they will kind of know like what sources will be beneficial and what won't be. Day 8 is when they will actually be submitting their assignments videos and posting them on Flipgrid, and also responding to their 2 classmates and providing some like critique as to if those um, solutions are the best solutions for their perspectives. Differentiation, again, since it is a Kotak class, I have some modified prep sheets available for those students. So you'll see that their roles are limited. There's only 1 question that they will be preparing for. For an example, here is a prep sheet that was completed by a student. So we see here they were an ambassador to the United Nations, and then they prepared these 2 questions here. And then they were excited. Also, hi. So, ideally, students would use this kind of format to create their video explaining their position on the Israel Palestine conflict, making sure to use their evidence that they put in their prep sheet, and just kind of explaining what that evidence means to their position. The video is required to be like at least 2 minutes and go no longer than 4 minutes. They will then create response videos to 2 of their classmates, similar to like a discussion board post, like we do in our art class. So because students' faces are used, I could not have students do this. Well, I could not use the students' videos in this project without like parental consent. So this is just an example of me doing that. For online digital content, this is just a screenshot of the page with resources. So here it is here. of the assignment, note sheet, prep sheet, and more importantly, some supplemental readings that they can use for their resources. Conceptual categorization, modification. They're no longer writing an argumentative paragraph. They're focusing now on new technology and more interaction with their classmates, especially by responding to their peers and critiquing those solutions that are provided. Summative evaluation. They're going to be turning in the prep sheet and Flipgrid, and those will be graded according to the rubric with the assignment posted. And then there will be questions on the unit test on this conflict, not just like basic memorization, but like application style questions. And then assessing effectiveness. Just did they like the role that they were given? Would they have preferred a different role? Did they like the question they had to end up answering? Or would they have preferred one of the other three questions? And then how would they feel about participating in projects similar to this in the future? And that's all.